What's going on? Welcome back to Financial Journey. So today we're going to talk to you about Rivian. I want to go over some of the current data points, break it down on what just came out associated to the company, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that said, let's get right to it. So today Rivian did go up 8.63%. After hours though, that is where it's blowing up. Currently up 50%, give or take. A lot of volume, so 94.2 million shares being traded, 34.1 is the average. So I'm going to start off with what happened today. So during the trading day, the reason why it did go up primarily was one, the technicals, as I kind of pointed to in previous videos. The LE wave technicals were kind of pointing to kind of the high teens, the low to mid teens. And then aside from that, there was also this that did come out. So new analyst rating. So looks like Guggenheim did initiate coverage, $18 price target, a buy rating. Ronald, who does have a 59% success rating. And I always found it weird that Guggenheim didn't ever give ratings on Rivian, but yet they participated in their actual earnings. So that one always was kind of weird to me, but nonetheless, $18 price target is absolutely epic. And even aside from that, the day prior, so yesterday, $10 hold rating done by Barclays, Dan Levy, who has a 41% success rating. So both of that, so the technicals along with this rating was what really drove Rivian higher today, and clearly just a lot of anticipation when it comes down to their investor day, which is on the 27th. I did a video, I think it was 2 days ago, saying that clearly they must have something big planned based on that. There's just been a lot of good kind of FOMO behind the scenes and a lot of abnormal buying coming from institutions. But then again, we are in the last week of Q2, so there was going to be always a lot of buying happening, and no different than this time around. But without further ado, let's get right to the news that just came out. So it says Rivian and Volkswagen Group announced plans for joint venture to create industry-leading vehicle software technology and for strategic investment by Volkswagen. So ultimately, it is around $5 billion, $1 billion up front, and then I believe it's 3 different tranches. I'm going to play this video near the tail end. It's about 4 minutes long, but it does go over everything that you need to know associated to this new joint ventureship. And this, as a byproduct, is causing other EVs to go up. So you have Lucid up right now, looks like 11.2%. Tesla not so much, so good old them. You also do have Polestar up 6.01%, and even a lot of the smaller players such as Faraday is up 12.08%. Because yes, this is kick-ass news for Rivian, but I think this is more symbolic because typically these types of deals do not happen if there's more of an anticipation of a further downtrend in the market. So this kind of does signal a bottoming. The whole EV sector has been massively hit over this last 2 years, give or take, on which some of it has been justified, but largely not so much. So I think this is very good for Rivian because of course they need money, not necessarily like right now, but still it's good to have in your reserves because they do have quite a lot in cash and cash equivalents as of right now. But nonetheless, I think this is definitely very good and part of Rivian's bigger plan to really be a massive competitor against Tesla. As I've said in the past, like they've set the foundation for them to really succeed all the way up to like 2030. That's when stuff is going to get very, very real. So let me know your thoughts on this in the comments below. Probably on the investor day, we're going to get a little bit more context on this, on what it does truly mean. And when it comes to shorts though, let's talk on them for a second. So right now shorts are increasing 534,000 shares, 18.75% of the free floats being shorted, utilization 69.11%, and right now it's about 132,000 shares overall are being shorted. Cost to borrow average is 1.01%. So when it comes down to shorts, I anticipate not a mother of all short squeeze kind of scenario tomorrow, but nonetheless, I do anticipate probably shorts to return a good about like 4 million going into tomorrow, maybe pushing the short interest to around the mid 17% range. especially based on this news that is kick-ass. And so logically, you're going to see a little bit more of a reduction as far as that. So again, that's something to kind of consider. Today, though, this obviously isn't really factoring the news that did come out after hours, but 9.82 million in calls, 4.05 million in puts. 52% of all the options being done today were optimistic and bullish. And of the call options that were being purchased, you do see a consensus for it to be around 15. So obviously this again is not encumbering the recent news. These are all some of the transactions that did occur on the secondary market so far above $100,000. So even aside from what just came out, you had a lot of institutions buying at Rivian because we are in the last week of Q2. So you're going to naturally see a lot of ETFs and institutions rebalancing their portfolios. And in comparison to the S&P, Rivian has lagged a little bit. It's been gaining some momentum recently, but still lagged the broader market. So you're going to no doubtably see a lot of buying continuing to happen for the rest of the week. So these are all the transactions that did occur so far, again, on the secondary market. A lot after hours, and you can underline that, a lot. So 1.89 million, my apologies for going so fast. So you guys can always pause and go read through it line by line if you feel necessary. So, but 2.64 million, 1.57, 1.57. Clearly that's a repeating one. There's a large one right here, 23 million. And then first thing as well, 3.61 million. So anticipate a lot of institutions to continue to buy. Right now with it at $17.51, it is just trading between this S1 and the pivot. So very wide gaps, but then again, I'm looking at the 1 week chart. 1 day chart is kind of, it's not even factoring this in. So it's kind of in a whole new different realm. Right now though, you might see a pullback of some sort happening tomorrow, depending on what does happen. But I think nonetheless, you're also going to have a lot of buying coming from institutions and shorts potentially returning some shares. So it's going to be a very, very interesting day. You do see a nice bullish deviation looking at stochastic. And plus, aside from that, Rivian is generally considered very oversold right now. So yeah, I think tomorrow might be hitting the Elliott wave technicals, as I did kind of mention. So kind of the mid to high teens. So yeah, I think bigger and better things are coming. So let me know your thoughts on Rivian. Have you been buying? Have you been selling? What have you been doing with Rivian? It really does suck for individuals that did sell, for instance, covered calls right before, let's say, during power hour, because I did kind of see an abnormal amount of that being done. So that kind of sucks because you are kind of setting limits on your cap for the most part, obviously dependent on your strike price and stuff like that. But like I mentioned, I'm just going to quickly play this video and it'll go over absolutely everything that you need to know when it comes down to Rivian.
David, this seems like it came out of the blue, but did we have any hint that this was coming? Was Volkswagen always kicking the tires on this?
We didn't have much of a hint that it was coming, but Rivian was clearly out there raising money and they needed cash. They've been burning cash. And given the low production numbers that they had, it really didn't seem like they were going to get to cash flow positive anytime soon. So they needed money. There were maybe financial partners out there they could have gone.
I think that's a little bit too harsh to say. Their numbers, I think, for Q2, even based on the recent conference that they did participate in, they did say it's going to be bad, but I don't think it's as bad as what they're portraying it as.
But this helps them a lot. And it also helps Volkswagen, by the way. But it helps Rivian because now they have a partner, big auto company that has production, has engineering, has a big parts bin that they can get to for non-EV kind of parts. So maybe they can lower their costs a lot faster than they could have going on their own, selling, building 50,000 vehicles a year. And for Volkswagen, they have the Scout unit.
Why is Volkswagen doing this? I thought they had their own EVs.
They do, and they have their Scout unit that's supposed to make electric trucks, but they might get access to Rivian's pickup and SUV platform, which allow Volkswagen to get into those segments pretty quickly if that's what they want to do. We don't really have the details of the industrial logic behind this, but you can see where they could have a lot of joint manufacturing, joint engineering kind of ventures where they can both lower their engineering costs, get vehicles to market faster. And this is something Volkswagen does. They own a lot of other brands besides Volkswagen and Audi. Well, they've got Bentley, they've got Lamborghini, they've got a bunch of other European brands as well. And, Volkswagen's always been the kind that acquires. They had a venture for a while with Ford doing self-driving vehicles. So this is a company that likes to play with others and likes to buy other brands. They're not going to buy Rivian, it doesn't seem like, but $5 billion over time, $1 billion to start. That gives Rivian a pretty good injection of cash to get going, and a pretty long lifeline here if the venture takes hold and they get the other $4 billion, I should say.
So I'm looking at Rivian. Of course, it's backed by Amazon, which has a 16% stake in the float. But also Ford Motors has a 1.1% stake in Rivian, which I recognize is not a ton. But does that create any potential conflicts with Volkswagen?
Not really. We'll see what happens with Ford. You remember Tesla in its early days had both Toyota and Daimler and Mercedes in there, and both of them sold their stakes and made pretty good money on it. Not as much as they would have if they held on to them for a very long time, but they were both in there doing some joint engineering, sharing parts with the companies. So, I would imagine we'll see what Ford does over time. Maybe they sell on this. Maybe they get more involved because Ford and Volkswagen have had relationships and still do. So, there are a lot of ways this could play out, but in the time being, I think merging up the engineering, the part sharing, all that industrial stuff that's kind of behind the scenes will be a big help for Rivian, because you can't get to cash flow positive without lowering your costs and boosting production, and Volkswagen might be able to help them with a lot of that stuff.
I'm curious.
So yeah, again, I also think that this is a very, very symbolic that potentially we might be in a bottom as well. So let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. One final thing, take advantage of this promo. Simply sign up for a new account, throw $100 at it, and they give you 5 free stocks. Each stock is valued up to $2,000. So take advantage of this kick-ass deal. Link in the description below and also the comments. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.